Israel's flag now flies high in the center of Gaza City, overlooking a desolate, apocalyptic landscape. This is one of the most intense assaults on a population the world has ever seen, and it's not over yet.
More than 18,000 Gazans have died and thousands more are missing, buried under the rubble. Others are severely injured and are unable to get the health care they need as hospitals are unable to function due to a lack of fuel and due to repeated aerial bombardments by the Israeli Defense Forces. Now, with that said, the United States decided to be the sole country in the United Nations to basically veto a resolution that called for a ceasefire. Now, the Security Council vote on the resolution backed by Arab states had 13 in favor and 1, the United States, against, while the United Kingdom abstained. US Deputy Representative to the UN, Robert Wood, said the resolution was rushed and ignored US diplomatic efforts to get more aid into Gaza and free hostages taken by Hamas militants in the October 7th attack on Israel. Now, what he left out of that ridiculous argument was the absolute terror that civilians have been living with in Gaza as the IDF bombs not only the northern region of the Gaza Strip, but also the south. There is literally nowhere for anyone to go for them to be safe from these bombardments, from these bombings. Robert Wood also said that the resolution's authors declined to condemn Hamas's October 7th attack that killed 1,200 people, including women, children, and the elderly. Now, something I wouldn't have expected, but here we are. Senator Bernie Sanders, one of the top progressives in Congress, opposes a ceasefire. During an interview over the weekend on CBS News, he said the following: in terms of a permanent ceasefire, I don't know how you can have a permanent ceasefire when Hamas, who has said before October 7th and after September 7th, that they want to destroy Israel, they want a permanent war. I don't know how you have a permanent ceasefire with an attitude like that. Now, a ceasefire would protect the journalists, humanitarian aid workers, and doctors who have been, slaughtered by Israeli airstrikes, but no consideration for them. Because God forbid, we actually consider the ratio of civilians that are getting killed versus alleged Hamas militants that the IDF is claiming that they're going after.
Okay, so I believe that Bernie's in favor of the ceasefire resolution. He's just saying that he doesn't want a permanent ceasefire because how can you negotiate when Hamas wants to kill all the Jews? Well, how do you negotiate when Israel won't end the occupation for 56 years? So it's the number one problem is the occupation. And Bernie, to be fair, is on the right side of that. He doesn't want the occupation, he wants a two-state solution, etc. But everybody's in America's favorite sport is ignoring the fact that these people have been kept in an open air prison for over 50 years now. So imagine, just reverse the roles. And I know people get like really touchy when it's the same exact fact pattern, but you reverse the ethnicities. So if Jewish people had been kept in open air prisons for 56 years, would we all be like, how dare you fight back? You shouldn't love the Germans, you should love the Palestinians, you should love whoever it is. Oh, so what? They're keeping you in a ghetto and you have no rights and you have no country and you have no existence. Shut up and take it and love your occupier. And oh, by the way, if you fight back, it's your fault. Can you imagine? That would be horrific if anyone did that to the Jews. It's also horrific when you do it to the Palestinians. These are super simple concepts.
So, Cenk, I've been seeing some pushback against the notion that Gazans had been living in an open air prison. Now, I know what you're referring to when you describe it that way, but I think it's worth revisiting why people describe the conditions in Gaza that way, because there's this video that's like floating around. I don't know when that video was shot. It shows beautiful scenes of Gaza. Oh, but Gaza's so beautiful. How could this be an open air prison? So talk about why it's referred to as an open air prison.
So first of all, they don't have their own sovereign state. That means they cannot make any decisions regarding foreign policy. And if they make any decisions domestically that Israel doesn't agree with, they can cut off the water, the power, the electricity. They could drop 2,000-pound bombs on them and kill 18,000 of their civilians with no recourse, nothing.
But
okay?
I mean, Gazans can leave though, right? If they don't like
cannot leave.
Oh,
they do not control their own borders. They do not control their own government.
Interesting.
They don't have any military. They are not a country. So again, we have the great irony of Israeli supporters going, "Oh my God, if the Palestinians had it their way, Israel wouldn't be a country." Well, but Israel is a country. Because of Israel, Palestine is not a country. But you're not worried about that at all because Palestinian lives don't matter, right? Be honest with yourself. You don't care about Palestinian lives at all. At all. Don't pretend that, oops, did I occupy them for 56 years? They can't control anything. And by the way, the minute that you disagree with Israel at all, or not even you, but someone else in the same area does something wrong, we're gonna come by, it doesn't matter if you're a dentist, a shopkeeper, or whatever you are, we're gonna strip you naked in the middle of the town. We're gonna gag your mouth and have you just wearing underwear, and then we're gonna take pictures of you and humiliate you in the whole world. Oh, by the way, that's after we kill your family.
Yeah.
But you see how it's your fault. So Bernie, I love you, brother. You're right about 90% of it, and I appreciate you. But please don't tell me about how, it's Hamas's fault, the Palestinians' fault for this problem being here in the first place. As we're gonna show you a little bit later in the program, Netanyahu has been trying to prop up Hamas. That's already horrible, so don't tell me, Hamas did something wrong. Well, then if that's the case, then it's Netanyahu's fault, and it's the Israeli government's fault that has allowed Hamas to fester instead of getting to a two-state solution. But more importantly, the reason they bolstered Hamas, according to reporting from the New York Times and almost every major paper in Israel, is because Netanyahu didn't want a two-state solution. So he thought Hamas continuing to create problems for Israel and the Palestinian authorities in the West Bank would be helpful for him politically. So it is literally Netanyahu and the Israeli government who does not want peace, does not want a two-state solution, and wants a permanent occupation. They are totally guilty.
I think it's important, when explosive claims like that are made, I think it's important to provide evidence for those claims. So I'm gonna do that right now because it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy for anyone to say that Benjamin Netanyahu would prop up Hamas. Let's go to graphic 10 here. So in March of 2019, Netanyahu told his Likud colleagues the following. I'm gonna read his quote verbatim. Anyone who wants to thwart the establishment of a Palestinian state has to support bolstering Hamas and transferring money to Hamas. This is part of our strategy to isolate the Palestinians in Gaza from the Palestinians in the West Bank. I didn't say it. We didn't make it up. We didn't even paraphrase. We read you his exact statement. So now the civilians who had been living in horrible conditions as a result of the Israeli government in the Gaza Strip now have to pay the consequences of what Hamas carried out on October 7th, and Hamas was propped up and funded by Benjamin Netanyahu. Isn't that so convenient?
And specifically for the purpose of making sure that there was no peace deal. So you'll also hear BS talking points about, we offered the Palestinians six different peace deals. It's all their fault for not taking it. By the way, here, let me come into your house, take 3/4 of your house, and then say, what, I gave you a quarter back. You didn't take the peace deal. It's totally your fault. That's why I had to keep the whole house, right? Absurd, point one. Point two is, well, are those same people gonna say, it's all the Israeli government's fault? Because here for 2 decades straight, they have had a concerted plan that even the Israeli papers confirm to make sure that the Palestinians could not get a peace deal. So aren't they just as guilty as Hamas? Well, oh my God, they killed 10 times as many civilians, but you can't say they're as guilty as Hamas. You can't say that. We'll ban you, we'll cancel you. If you're a university president, if someone is doing a theoretical chant, we'll make sure your life is ruined. But kill 10 times as many Palestinians, make sure there's never any peace. You're perfectly good. Hey, you're an ally. You're a democracy. Come on, get out of here. Not anywhere near close.
Now, with that said, I do think it's interesting to see how media has had no choice but to pivot to the reality of what's happening on the ground in Gaza. Jake Tapper, I think, is a prime example of that because we're not just hearing about high civilian death tolls, we're also hearing about dozens of journalists getting slaughtered as a result of Israel's aerial bombardments in the Gaza Strip. Let's watch.
The Committee to Protect Journalists says at least 63 journalists and members of the news media have been killed, 56 of them Palestinian, in this war, presumably mostly, if not entirely, by IDF strikes. Is that acceptable to you? You've made press freedom a hallmark of your term. How do you explain all these deaths of journalists? How do the Israelis explain it?
When it comes to instances where journalists have been killed, we want to make sure that that's investigated and we understand what's happened and there's accountability.
You know, there's been a lot of fear over a growing number of Americans who are starting to question liberalism, right? Human rights, everything that the American government purports to care about and want to protect. And the reason why they're second guessing it, if you ask me, is because the very values that fall under the umbrella of liberalism seem to be hollow, seem to be nothing more than cheap talk by those in power, by the elite. And that's what you're seeing right there. I mean, you have Secretary of State Antony Blinken pretending as though he has any concern for the dozens of journalists who have been slaughtered in the Gaza Strip. We're supposed to want to protect. That's what, I mean, it's a big part of liberalism, wanting to protect the press, wanting to protect freedom of speech. But we have a situation in which dozens upon dozens of journalists have been killed, and all you get from Antony Blinken is, well, you know, we're concerned about that. We're going to investigate it. Are you?
Oh, yeah.
Are you?
They're working around the clock. They got people working in shifts on it. Okay, guys, here's more stats. Again, this is, I'm probably going to be called anti-Semitic for giving you numbers, okay? So Hamas killed 6 reporters on October 7th. Awful, horrific, terrible. Everybody agrees. What a bunch of no good terrorists, right? Israel has killed 63 reporters. A bunch of suckers going around going, oh, I bet it was all collateral damage. I bet it was all an accident. Golly gee, the Israeli Defense Forces have the worst aim in the world. Hamas meant to kill the 6 reporters, but Israel didn't mean to kill any of the 63 reporters who were, by the way, coincidentally happened to be there to document the ethnic cleansing that is going on in Palestine now and in Gaza. Are you joking? I mean, when you make points like this, don't you get a little embarrassed, maybe even humiliated? Yeah. They're obviously killing them on purpose, and we're obviously not going to do anything about it. And by on purpose, I don't mean like, hey, I don't like that guy and that guy. They've done that in the past. That's right, with an American journalist, okay? But in this case, they're like, oh, there's journalists in the area. I don't care. Who cares? Just drop a 2,000-pound bomb. Kill, 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 kill. Oh, oops, it was all 18,000 people dead, all an accident. No one outside of the propaganda-filled heads inside Washington believes you guys. No one believes you.
Okay, so I want to move on to the casualties and others who have been killed, individuals who had just recently done press interviews about what they were experiencing in the Gaza Strip. So let's go to graphic 5 here, where the Israel Defense Forces struck more than 250 sites across Gaza and was fighting fiercely in Khan Yunis, the largest southern city, and in the northern neighborhoods of Jabalia and Shejaiya. And look, I mean, that makes it clear they're obviously doing aerial bombardments at every region of the Strip. There is nowhere to evacuate to for safety. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said that multiple health facilities and personnel were attacked across Gaza over the weekend, and that 3 medical workers were shot while trying to retrieve medical supplies for hospitals at health ministry warehouses. This is according to reporting from the Washington Post. And also a 44-year-old Palestinian poet by the name of Rafat Al-Arir was also killed by the IDF just weeks after he told CNN that he and his family have no choice but to remain in the north because they have nowhere to go. And here is one of his final interviews before he was killed.
We know that it's very bleak, it's very dark. There's no way out. If there's no water, there's no way out of Gaza. What should we do? Like drown? Like commit mass suicide? Is this what Israel wants? And we're not going to do that. And I was telling some friend the other day that I'm an academic. Probably the toughest thing I have at home is an expo marker. But if the Israelis invade, if they target us, charge at us, open door to door to massacre us, I'm going to use that marker, throw it at the Israeli soldiers.
He says, all I have is an Expo marker, and he'll throw it at them. That's the only line of defense he has. Weeks later, on December 7th, Al-Arir was killed by a strike in northern Gaza. His friend and colleague, Jihad Absalim, confirmed to CNN he was staying with his brother, his sister, and her 4 children, who were all killed.
Okay, here's another question that everybody in Washington, the liars, the hypocrites, the guys funding genocide right now would find outrageous. So if Israel has a right to defend itself, and everyone agrees that they do the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves?
No, they don't apparently.
No, right? I mean, let's be honest, Washington. Everyone in Washington says that Israel has a right to defend itself by killing 10 times as many civilians as Hamas, the terrorist group. You see how they're not terrorists, even though they kill 10 times as many civilians, and we're just getting started. Now we're gonna tell you later in the show, they're looking to broaden the war, and they said move to the south, and as Anna just told you, they're bombing the hell out of the south. I mean, you're seeing the pictures, guys. Family members being picked out of the rubble, one body part at a time. The whole place is obliterated. We've never seen civilian casualties like this. The New York Times reporting, in 20 years in the war in Afghanistan, we killed less civilians than Israel killed in 2 months. And you're telling me they were all accidental killing of civilians? No, they're massacring the civilians. They're doing it right in front of all of our eyes, and America blocks any resolution that would stop them. Green light, green light. So look, I used to hate when people would say like, oh, Genocide Joe. I thought that sounds ugly, that's too far about Joe Biden. But if you're gonna send $14 billion to actively commit a genocide, well, what should we call you? So do the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves? Or are they the only people on earth who must submit to their own massacres? So end their own occupation. Do they have any rights as human beings? No, Washington says over and over again, Palestinians are not human, they will never be treated as human, and we will send more money today to go murder them. That's exactly what Congress is doing now. Oh, we're so concerned about hypothetical chants on college campus. Fire anyone who disagrees with Israel, okay? Because we're concerned about genocide. Oh, by the way, next we'll be voting on genocide. And we will, almost all of us, vote yes to genocide and send your money. You worked so hard at your job. Are we gonna give your kids anything? Education, healthcare, anything? No. We're gonna take your money and we're gonna send it over to butcher those Palestinians. Don't spare me any BS about how you care about human rights, how you care about genocide, how you care about protecting people as we continue to fund massacre after massacre, daily massacres by the Israeli government. If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.